Us. Greetings, sports fans. How is everyone? Thanks for joining me again. Today's going to be fun. I'm just going to, I think today will be really useful for anybody who is teaching, because Sensei Claudio asked on Monday if we could go over some ideas for teaching. And I'm thinking, most of the things that I say perhaps will be already familiar to you, but these are just some ideas about teaching that I have used all along. I have a really great, in '93, I made a instructor's manual. It was essentially for my own instructors, and at this stage it still is, but I think I'll make that available also to my Patreon family. Shout out to my Patreon family. Thanks for all your ongoing support. It really is what allows me to do all this stuff, And whilst I'm doing a shout out, you might remember Richard Kimura, who sticks his head in from time to time. He's just been through some pretty major surgery, and he's still in hospital. So our thoughts go out to him. And another, unfortunate incident is that in Iran with the COVID-19, they've lost a couple of their champion black belt fighters, as well as the branch chief in Iran has lost his sister. She was only 49 years old. And Sensei Barman himself, he is also apparently very, very sick. And the problem there is they don't have the hospital facilities to deal with all the cases as they arise. So send a little prayer off to Barman Shihan in Iran. I've met him. He's a good guy. Okay. Torborn, good on you. Sensei Claudio. Frederick from Sweden. Gaza from down the hill. Good to see you, Gaz. Rochelle, all the way from Canada. Herman, good to see you, man. Al, from down the coast. Sensei Claudio. Us. Mike Clark from Western Australia. Is it stormy there? It's beautiful here. We wanted the storm. I wish we could get it because we really need the rain. Although we had a pretty good dose on Sunday. Daniel, good to see you, man. I was wondering if you were here. Paul Kniep from Germany. Cloudy in Leipzig. That reminds me of the old Two Ronnies weather report. They said, and now for the weather report, it's overcast in Belfast, clear in Leah, and in Lissingdown, you better take an umbrella. I love that. I think it's 30 years since I heard it. Alan Lloyd, good to see you, man. And all the viewers that come and join in afterwards because they can't make it because of work, hello to you as well. Wow. Well, good. I guess we all need rain somewhere, Mike. Okay, so today I'm just going to go over a few teaching principles, teaching ideas that I use when I teach. And these are ideas that I've used probably since I began teaching many, many years ago. Raj Kumar, namaste, all the way from Nepal. Good to see you, man. So we've got the United Nations going on again here. Okay, I'm going to have a bit of a shuffle. I'm getting better. Look, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm showing off again. I don't play cards. I think it's a total waste of time. But I did play a lot of cards, I have to tell you now. There we go. Okay, I'm going to peel off 13 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okie doke. What a mess I've made here. Let me sort this out. Okay, and another thing that I was doing too was with the students last night, I was showing them different ways to use the decks of cards. And sometimes if you want to do it, what you can do is just put all the cards in order. And you do a countdown, what we call a countdown. And that's another really good thing for instructing too, is you always make sure you back up training with some good fitness work. And the simplest way to do fitness work is a series of push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. Very challenging. And everyone is able to measure their progress over time. because if you set the volume right, well, then you can always make sure that you keep track of where you're going. So I used to do what I call a countdown, and a countdown was simply a good way to start a countdown. If you haven't done it, is you do 10 push-ups, sit-up, squats, and you do that 5 times, 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, and when you get that, then you increase it to 20, 10, 10, 10, 10. And then you keep increasing it incrementally. Don't blast it. If you're young, you can blast the hell out of it. And then you gradually build up to where you're doing 50 push-ups, sit-up, squats, 40 push-ups, sit-up, squats, 30, 20, 10. And then once you get to that, you increase it again. We usually stuck to 50. I think that's about 150 in total for each training session. We do it non-stop. It's a really good, solid workout that everybody can really punch out and push themselves. But as the fighters would approach tournaments, well, I know that when I was doing for the world training for the world tournament back in '87, we'd do it from 80, and then we'd add 25 and 15. I think it worked out to about 400 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats, and we do that 3 times a day. Actually, we do it twice a day, but my partner at the time wouldn't let me go to bed unless I did it one more time. So I'd get home from training after training for 3.5 hours, and she'd make me do another 400 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, the bully. But anyway, I'm grateful to it. And we had some of the Uchideshi would actually do it from 100. So they're doing like 500. Urs, good to see you, Bogdan. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming. So we've peeled off some cards. We're going to do these cards. Clarence Urs from South Africa. Clarence trains with Kenny Aiton Bogart, one of my good heroes. Let's have a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a sweat first. Always got to train first, talk later, as Frank Everett used to say. And then we'll do the deck of cards, and we'll get into some ideas about instructing. Okay? Oh, it's Richard. Richard Kimura is coming. Fantastic. Us, everybody. We just mentioned you, Richard. I told everybody that you'd just been through a major op, so it's really nice of you to come on board. Thank you. Now, just jump out of bed and join in with the countdown with the deck of cards, okay? No excuses. And here's a shout out today. My friend, it's always nice to be able to call someone like Randy Couture a friend. There you go. He even autographed it for me. But I had some great training with Randy. We worked together on his stand-up, and he taught me so much about wrestling. And then when he came out again in Sydney for the 2000 Olympics to support his buddies on the wrestling team, he and I trained together for 2 weeks every single day. He was preparing for a fight, so he asked me to help him with that. And he's a fantastic guy. I have to admit, I spoke to him on the phone a couple of years ago, but other than that, I haven't seen him for a long time. So perhaps it's a little bold to say that he's my friend, but I'm sure if I rang him up tomorrow, we'd have a nice chat. So anyway, Randy Couture, one of the good guys, by all means. Okay, let's get going. Yes. Thanks for joining me. Let's go. Knees, itch, knee, san, hunter. Even if you're not training, you're just at work or near a desk, join in for these 15 minutes of training to give your body a good stretch and workout. Nose, itch, knee, san, chi, itch, knee, san, chi. Train appropriately for your age. Because if you're old and grey and your eyes are dim, go carefully. Or if you're young and fit, pump it out. Breathe in. As you breathe out, drop your energy down to the heart. Take your weight underside and just relax and go down. Let's go back to do some soft yoga stretching today. Okay, feet together, stretching up. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Breathe in. Out. Keep lengthening. Lengthen from your hands to your hips. Try not to be like this. Try to lengthen, relax your neck. Breathe naturally. Breathe out. Breathe in. And out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Hold. Out. In. Out. Hold the position. Remember, keep lengthening from your fingertips to your butt. Breathe out and in. Out. In. Out. One more. In. Out. In. Hold. Out. In. Out. Out. In. Out. In. Out. Good one. Shkodach. Once again, breathe in. Shoulder forward, out. In. Out. In. Out. Stretch the spine. In. Out. Nice and deep. Score boomy. Left leg itch. Knee. Sun. Sheep. Go. Whoa. Go. Nice and deep. Breathe in. As you breathe out, take your mind down the tongue down. Just relax everything down low. Let gravity take it down. Standing up. Good. Iggy, Sanshin, that's it. Continue. Pass your cage. 8, Son, to the left. This is important for teaching too, because, see, if you do this as part of the warm-up, by the time they need the actual technique at about green belt, they already have it down. One more. That's also good to break down. We don't normally break that down into two hands. We always do it with two arms. Well, we start off kind of small, and then we work remember the circle principle of covering the head. So now we come up here like that, bang. Okay, and you can break that, see here, bang, cover it. So I'm like this, boom, I cover that movement there. Okay, so we've got two movements going on. The first one is a tap down and back. So we're like this, we're fighting, and this movement here of Mawashi Uke can simply be translated into a tap down. See that movement? Mawashi Uke, that's the movement. That's the movement. Tap the arm down, palm heel back for a real encounter. Bang, and straight in. Remember we were doing this the other day. Bang, straight back, bang, bang. Or this way, back fist or koken and palm heel. So now we're going 1, 2. See that? Knock the punch away. Knock the punch away, come straight back with that. The other one is just here. I don't want trouble, serve. I don't want trouble, boom. You take it away, and then you come up there. You can bring both hands into play there, boom, like this. You come across there, koken, palm heel. It's really nice for self-defense work. And it's also good to help students to understand what does this even mean, because people all the way to black belt never really learn how to apply that under pressure against a non-compliant opponent whose objective is to hurt you. You break it down, you put it in kumite now. Now this movement is just boom. It's also good for a maigiri. You throw the front kick, boom, take the maigiri away. There's your, take the maigiri away. You've got the leg here now. You can just uproot them just by lifting and going forward. Okay, deck of cards. I'll let you in on a secret. I deliberately cut out the hearts. Oh, there's still a few there. I'll grab that one instead. I deliberately cut out the hearts because I just want to work on the whole idea of, see, sometimes the hearts scare people off a bit, and that's fair enough, especially if you're over 30 or 40. Us, Rudd, good to see you, man. That's it. Thanks for that. Thanks for that link that you sent me too. I don't know. I may have mentioned him and his boxing, but his no clinch boxing is my go-to, Rudd, for when I teach concepts of not just boxing, but also dominant head position and fine movements of posture in kumite. So thanks for that link. I don't know if I'd mentioned it, and because I mentioned it, you sent the link for me. But there you go. I've trained with him a fair bit, and I think his stuff is great. All right, so I've got this deck of cards now. Yes, Marvin. He's a great teacher. Have you trained with him? He teaches out of my friend Eric Paulson's gym in Orange County. And yeah, there you go. And he teaches at Eric's, and that's where I've trained. Whenever I go to Eric, I try to get in and train with, do a session with Marvin as well. Okie doke, let's go. So I've got the deck of cards, and like I said, I've cut out the burpees. So I want you to hang in there and go sharp if you can. Okay. Still 13 or 14 cards. I don't remember how many I pulled out. Okay, first one. 13 push-ups. Let's go. Good posture. Itch, knee, son, chi, go, itch, punch, two, itch, knee, son. Ace clubs, 10 squats, itch, knee, son, chi, go, look, hitch, punch, cube, do. Next one. 10 of clubs, 10 more squats. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, look, hitch, touch, two, give. 9 spades, 9 push-ups. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, hitch, touch, cue. Next one. 2 spades, 2 push-ups. Hitch, knee. Next one. 9 clubs. We're getting all the black ones out of the way. I think there are a few sit-ups in there, not sure. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, look, hitch. So you see, by taking out the hearts, it adds a different type of intensity. 13 clubs. That's a king of clubs. 13. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, look, hitch, touch, two, hitch, knee, sun. 3 diamonds. Hitch, knee, sun. Next one. 6 diamonds. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, look. 7 clubs. Remember, no hands getting up. Pendulum. Tuck the leg, push, straighten, stand. 7 clubs. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, look, hitch. If you're young and strong in your 20s, do double. I don't mind. 4 of hearts. 4 of diamonds. Hitch, knee, sun, she. Queen of diamonds. 12 sit-ups. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, hit, go, hitch, knee. Queen of, what's that, a spade. I haven't got my glasses on. So, no hands, getting up. Well, let's go this way. Remember, we do it like this. From here to go to push-ups. Cross your legs. Go forward. Take the hand. Kick your legs back. Hitch, knee, sun, she, go, hitch, touch, cue, hitch, knee. And last one. 3 more push-ups. Make them good ones. Hitch, knee, sun. Beautiful. Grab a drink. If you're in the cold, get warm. If you're in the warm, get cool. Got my Judd Reed jacket again. This is my favourite go-to jacket at the moment in winter. I'll put it on if I get cold. Okay, so you see, even without the burpees definitely give it another whack up in terms of the cardio. But in terms of muscular endurance, by cutting out the burpees, just focusing on push-ups, squats, and sit-ups, you can get a really a good workout. See, Rudd's mentioned Marvin Cook there, and I guess I did mention him, but Marvin Cook, I think, if you look him up, he's what he calls, if you do a search for no clinch boxing. And some of his ideas are fantastic. And I've had the privilege of training with him, and as a teacher, he's a lot of fun to train with. Very good at his stuff. I'll put a photo up of us together one time. But yeah, great teacher. Thanks for that link, Rudd. Okay, so once again, good to see you, Richard Kimura, all the way from Hawaii, who's been in that tough operation, man. Good on you, and it's so nice to see you here. It was too quick without the burpees. Yeah, I needed a little more time today. Normally the burpees take an extra bit of time. That's true, Clarence. But that's the idea. You try and pump it out as quick as you can. And another way to do it is obviously you time the whole deck. You should be able to do the whole deck in between 15, 20 minutes. Fast guys even quicker than that. But you cut out the burpees altogether, And then in the dojo, what we do is we have someone who's not training, that might have an injury or something. They'll count them out, bang, 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 and you really pump it out as quick as you can. You actually end up doing 100 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. It's a great workout. Okay. Shout out to my Patreon family. Thank you so much. As always, if you're not a Patreon member, what's holding you up? Get along, say good day, check out the site, and see if you can't join in. Okay, so let's look at the instructing now. So the first thing that comes to mind is there's a difference. One sec. There's a difference between teaching, instructing, and taking the class. So sometimes a brown belt may be asked to take the class, and really all you want to be doing is taking the count. Okay, so there's a real skill to taking the chant in the basics and the count. You get that skill right, you're miles ahead of the next bloke. There are some instructors that never really get it, but you get that chant, that rhythmic chant going, and it's just like music. And like Salso says, if you don't have rhythm, you don't have karate. So the whole idea of that chant is you get that really nice rhythm going, and it's really helpful. So, and I'm just talking about teaching today because Sensei Claudio asked me to go over a couple of things. So that's the first thing I'd recommend, is you work really hard on getting that rhythm going. And you don't even have to worry about being pedantic about the exact pronunciation of the words and so on. I don't. I mean, I'm confident enough in my Japanese to know that I know how to count 1 to 10. But when I do the count, I'll go he ho ho he ho ho he ho ho hey hip, like that, you know. And the key is not so much to practice your Japanese, is to get a really smooth rhythm going, you know. So that's when you've been asked to take the count. If you're asked to take the count, no one wants you to teach. It's that simple. My instructor might say to you, "Quick, can you take the count for me?" He might have to go somewhere or do something, or take a phone call or whatever. Just take the count and keep taking the count till he gets back. Okay. If you're asked to instruct, well, that's a different thing. So the instruction is not just the count, but it's also pointing out little things to people. Okay. So if someone is doing the basics and their arms, well, then when you're an instructor, you can say, okay, well, make sure you close the gate and you bring your hand up and you don't let it go out and around. You bring the hand up in a straight line, that straight line there. And there you have your block. So if you're being asked to instruct, you can do that sort of stuff. Okay, but being asked to teach is another level again. That's where they want you to actually come in and explain, teach, introduce a technique. And it may be your technique, or it may be a technique that they need to know more about. So the first thing you need to do is be clear about what you're doing on that particular night, I think. Are you taking the count? Are you instructing, which means you just point out errors, or are you teaching? And I think they all deserve different things. In reference to Marvin, he really pushes circling to the right. One time you have time, can you address what you think about taking the angle on the closed side? Yes, he does talk about that a lot too. And that's a really valuable principle for not just boxing, particularly boxing, but also for karate as well. All right. Well, if I get around to it later on, right, I'll address it later on if we have time. Okay, but fair call. Maybe not today because it wasn't part of it. But the most important thing, what Rudd's talking about there, is something that you can incorporate in your dojo as well, is 100% of the time, not 50. We can start off 25. You can build up to 50, 75, then 100%. 100% of the time, you need to be angling off. Okay, so we can be in the dojo, for example, with the students, and we'll be doing a drill. Okay, so we face each other, and we're there at the drill. Okay, and he's facing me, I'm facing him, and the drill might be 1, 2. So he throws the 1, 2, I take it and kick, and then we're back to here. And then I'll hit him 1, 2, and he takes it and kicks. And you see, we haven't changed angles. So what we do in the dojo, we do it at 2 levels, and this really, really works well. What I'll do is, if it's my turn, he'll throw the punches, I'll block, kick, step off, rotate. Now we're at this angle. The angle we finish at doesn't matter. The most important thing is we get off the line. We get out of the line. And so now at this one. And then he throws it, I throw it at him. 1, 2, he blocks, boom, and he changes angles, and we might be back here now. 1, 2, boom, I kick, and I'll move off the angle. Okay, so that's the first level of angle change in all basics, even when we are doing formal basics. It might be that we're here, he steps through, I'll step back, 1, 2, and then I'll step in, maybe the front hip, and step and rotate. Okay, so we want to constantly not see getting off the angle after a combination as separate to the combination. We want to see it as part of the combination. So the second level we do with that is if I'm doing, say, he's throwing the 1, 2, so I'm blocking the 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and maybe here, then what I do for the second level is as I move off the angle, I throw 2 techniques. And all they are distractions in the face. You're not aiming to hit. If you hit, great, but you don't have to. What you're doing is you're giving him something to think about. And we end up at this angle. I throw them to him. He blocks, and then as he moves off, I'm having to block that. Then he does it, bang, bang. Boom, I'll finish, bang. I'll step off and I'll throw the double hand. Okay, so that's one idea that you can incorporate immediately in your training, and it'll make a difference. It'll force guys not to go into what we call the mental dead zone. The physical dead zone is that zone in front of them where they can hit you. The mental dead zone is that zone in your head where you finish the combination, but you're not really finished because you finished the combination, but you're still in his danger zone. You're still in his dead zone, so you're still in danger. The combination isn't finished till you're out of the danger zone. Okay, so that's something you really add on. It really makes a difference. No matter whether you're doing formal or informal, always make sure that you finish off at an angle, boom, boom. Finish off at an angle and finish off by throwing a couple of techniques. Okay, now, it's always important to have a plan A and a plan B in training. So I know a lot of guys don't go with any plan at all. Yeah, I've just got to take the class today. And if you've got enough experience, you've been training for 30, 40 years and you can do that, not a problem in the world. If you can pull that off, that's fantastic. It's not necessary to have a plan if you've got everything in your head. And then what you can do is sometimes you walk in. I've done this, I must admit. I've gone in with my plan, but then a couple of guys will say something or I'll watch someone and the content of the class will change completely. That often happens at when I do seminars. Is I have in mind what I want to teach to the seminar, and I'll get there and I'll watch the movement and someone will say something to me and the whole seminar will go off on a tangent. So plan A, plan B is this. Plan A is what you plan to do. Plan B is what you plan to do when plan A doesn't work, of course. So you might have something in mind and it's just not working. Now, plan B, what's Damien? Thanks for joining in, man. Plan B for me can be I have a three-letter concept, SNS. Okay, and that SNS I've used 100,000 times, and in fact I use it pretty well every class. What the first S stands for is something simple. Okay, so the first S is something simple. By that I just mean it could be something they already know, or it could be a concept that you want to work on. So it may be how to throw a 1-2. It may be how to get your balance right. Okay, and as you can tell, I know you're thinking it, that how to get your balance right is not a simple thing. Well, it's not, but for a white belt, all you can start with is how to get that balance right. So the weight's on the left for the left, the weight's on the right for the right. Okay, well, that's a really simple concept. So the first S is S for simple. The N is new. Okay, so generally speaking, in a class, you want to, if you can, you introduce something new. And I don't mean a whole new cut or a whole new this. It can be one simple concept that they haven't worked on before. Okay, if you think about the number of things that you can work on, there's lots and lots of stuff that you're able to introduce as something new. So the first S is something simple. Keep it real simple that they're familiar with. And that can be basics. That can be some basics. Then something new. For example, not a lot of people do this in basics. You may, good on you if you do. But here we are, we're in Sanshin for basics. And we're doing Aguch. We go bang, bang, bang. We're doing our Aguch, okay? Everyone knows that. It's just like a jab or whatever, okay? Then you say, okay, now let's change this. I'll get back so you can see my feet. So now we take our back foot, we turn it to the side, and I've taken my Sanshin into fighting stance. Okay, so what I can do is I can say, all right, now what you're going to do is you're going to work laterally, left and right with the Aguchi, and you're going to make sure that your weight is correct. So when I turn and throw the right to the left, I don't want to take my weight to the left. I want to take my weight to the right, so I sit back on the technique. And when I turn left, it's the same thing. So you can walk into some dojos if you've been asked to teach something, and you can simply take a technique that they've done 1,000 times and simply change the angle and say to them, well, what about this? Okay, so it might be bang, change that angle. Might be the hooch, like I said, change that angle. Another thing which is I found I don't do so much because it wrecks my knee, but kansetsugeri. Okay, so normally when we do kansetsugeri, for a start, if you're on jigsaw mats, turn your feet out. Never do jigsaw mats with your feet straight or any surface that grips. Okay, so I wouldn't do this on a wooden floor because the wooden floor wouldn't necessitate it. But for kansetsugeri, right, normally we're like this, might have the hands in the belt. We'll go itch, knee. I've got to go slow with that leg, my knee will come undone. Son, sheep, look, like that, okay? Now what you can do is you can build up power and momentum through the technique by stepping forward. So now from here, you go 1 and back, 1 and back, 1 and back, 1 and back. These sound effects aren't obligatory. You can do them if you want. Okay, 1 and so just by doing the basics, rather than do them static, 1, 2, people disconnect with what they're doing. So you reconnect it with movement. So now you're stepping forward, bang, step back, step forward, bang, step forward, step back. And you can just do that as part of your basics. Now, if you've been asked to teach a class somewhere, not at your own dojo, and they want you to do something new, you can do a whole seminar just on those 2 techniques. Okay? So the first S is something simple. Do something they already know. And that may be nothing more than Sanshin middle punch. Okay, to get the rhythm, get the energy going. Then you introduce something new. Okay, and that something new can take up a large portion of the class. Be wary of trying to introduce too many new things. Okay, sometimes I've been to seminars where the instructor will teach 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 techniques, and they know they're doing it. Half the time they don't want you to remember what they're teaching, and the other half they think, all right, well, if you find one technique out of those 40, well, then good on you. Well, that's usually what I do. If I go to a seminar somewhere that someone's teaching and I want to get something out of the seminar, I'll zero in on the one technique that makes a difference to me. And then I won't even remember the rest the next day. I won't even remember the next hour, but I'll make sure that I take that one technique really deeply so at least I get something out of it. And often what I'll do is I'll tag team with a couple of guys. If we have half a dozen of us at a seminar, each of us will be responsible for taking one technique out of that seminar so that when we go back to the dojo, we can share them. Do you go on different parts according to who's in the class and what students need to work on? Yes, of course. I think that's very important, Claudio. And another thing you can do, once I was asked to do a seminar for like 240 people. And it's like everything from white belt all the way through the 3rd or 4th dan. It's crazy. You can't get everyone to do the same thing at the time. So what I did was I got everyone in rows. And the front row was like 4th and 3rd dan. Second row was 2nd, 1st, then browns, then greens, then yellows, light blue, like that. And then what we did was we went through a combination, like a 4 technique combination. And then we did it again and again. We started off with one technique. So that's the other secret, is always break things down. Of a 4 technique combination, you could probably break it down into 12 moves. Okay, so let's just stick to 4. So we broke it down, the first technique. The whole dojo did the first technique. Then we added the second. The whole dojo did the second. But the back line, who are white belts, who may not be able to string those together, it's okay if they just stick to the first. Okay, and then we added the 3. Okay, so maybe the back line gets all 3, or maybe they only get 2, or maybe they only get 1. That doesn't matter. They do all 3 if they can. Otherwise, they go back to the level where they were previously comfortable, and they expand again from there. If it gets too confusing for them, come in, bang, 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 bang. They go, oh, I'm confused. Okay, well, then just start off with the block and the block. So they go through the block, block, block. And they go, okay, well, this is okay now. Now I'm getting it. So then they go block, and then add the third block. Okay, so they build up then according to their comfort. And mind you, the whole class is doing this. And then you do all 4 techniques. And then what you do is you say to each line, you add or detract according to the level that you're comfortable with. And then what we'll do, once we've got those 4 techniques, then for the, that's good for the whites and the blues. And then for the yellows, we'll start to tell them, all right, now we want you to put some good power into it. And then for the greens, we'll say, okay, now what we want you to do is get the rhythm different so it flows nicely. And then for the browns, we'll say, okay, you're still doing the same concept of the same 4 techniques, but now if you want, you can add a kick in as well. Okay, so make sure that right, and you get that. And then for the black belts, we go, okay, let's go from Zenkutsu. I want you to bring it back to fighting stance, but do those same 4 techniques in a fighting situation, like in a real style, movement style. Okay, and add a couple of kicks. And so if there are 8 rows, everyone's doing the same thing. And then you cut one row, they stick to that. Everyone does something else, cut a row, stick to that. The next lot, do something else. And you can do the whole class. And I did that whole class with like 240 people, man. They couldn't even hear me down the back. But what they were doing was each line, even though we were doing the same combination, every line was doing something different. So I think it's important, Sensei, to address who's in the dojo. If you don't do that, you lose them. Okay, if you just focus on white belt techniques, you lose everybody from blue belt up or from yellow belt up. If you just focus on brown belt techniques, well, then the white belts don't know what you're doing, and the black belts think, this is boring. Okay, they shouldn't, because they should be working on the basics. But so yeah, that's a really important thing to address that, and that's one way to do it. Get everyone to do the same technique. Everyone to start with upper block. And then the back row just keeps going up a block, and the next row goes up a punch. And then the next go row is up a punch, block. And then the next one goes up a punch, block, reverse punch. Then the next one up, punch, block, reverse punch, kakeuki or something like that. And then when you get into the black belt, they can flow it up, or they can free it up and come through and add their own thing to it. Okay, so exactly the same concept and flow and principle, but it becomes more sophisticated as we go on. Okay. Now the last S, so we're talking about SNS, remember? So it's SNS, first step. Can I do this? Something simple is the first step. Something new is the second step. And the third step is something strong, okay? And that can save you. So, for example, you could be somewhere where you feel that the energy is lagged a little bit. Sometimes it can be something like an incident occurs in the dojo. Maybe I've had it where at a seminar, and then somebody, an older person, starts to feel lightheaded and they had to be taken to hospital. Well, that whole process took half an hour out of my time. So it's really hard to rebuild that energy again. So the easiest way is to do something really strong. So you can be pair up body conditioning, bang, 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 or it can pair up leg conditioning. It can be sprints. It can be 2-man sprints, one guy holding the belt. Okay, it can be what we call a Holyfield shuffle. Okay, and what that is another really good way to salvage a class that has gone down the tube because something happened or they didn't get the technique you wanted them to get or whatever. You finish it by being strong. And one of the best ways to do that is you break them up into teams. And it can be 4 different teams or 3, depends how many. And then you have them do a race. And one of the things we do is we'll do a sprint from one end of the dojo and back. We'll hop up on one leg, hop back on the other leg, skip up, skip backwards, sidestep up, sidestep back, and then the person behind will hold their legs and they'll wheelbarrow. You don't have to go the whole dojo because a lot of people can't do that, but you wheelbarrow according to the level of the group. So maybe you wheelbarrow 10 meters and back 10 meters, or even 5 meters is big, back wheelbarrow. And then we turn sideways and we go sideways wheelbarrow, sideways back. And then what happens is the person puts their legs down, they take off, and that person does 10 knee jumps or 10 high knee lifts. And then that person does, and then you make it into a relay. And what happens is the competitiveness, the natural competitiveness will come out, and you'll finish off with a really strong session, and you can really, really salvage something. And guys go, man, that was so good. You go, which part was good? Oh, well, that little challenge at the back, That's a good way to do it too. So that SNS, I've got students who did the first instructors course seminar with me in '93, and they were probably brown belts at the time. And now they are fourth dans. And I ran into one. I'm just thinking of one particular buddy of mine, Dom Hopkins, who trained with me from white belt. He's now a fourth dan in the Matsui group. And I ran into him on a plane coming back from Japan at the end of 2018, I think. But anyway, he was saying that to this day, he still uses little things out of that instructor's course, and particularly the SNS idea. Yeah, and there you go. Look at Al Bellamy trains with me, so he knows what the boys are like. So we'll do a deck of cards, and then on a fitness night, we'll do a full deck of cards, and then we'll do the Holyfield Shuffle sprints, relay races, and then we'll get into the Kumite. So that's a really, what a fantastic way. And just that, what Alan is describing there, let me go to that. So here we are, a group walks in, and we want a fitness night. Okay, you might go somewhere, and I say to the instructor, what would you like? I do seminars at non-Kyokushin groups all the time. Us, Leo, thanks for coming along, man. Okay, so you can't really teach them Kyokushin things. So what you can do is you go, okay, well, let's do a Kyokushin-style fitness night. We'll do a deck of cards, the Holyfield Shuffle, some body conditioning, and they love that, where you just stand each other and trade blows till one of you gets winded, or the leg kick conditioning. And these are all part of they're all part of Core 54, where you have the conditioning that you have to do. Okay, and they're two of the main conditioning exercises. And then you just do some kumite, and you tell them you go soft in the kumite. It doesn't matter if you go soft. You work on your footwork, your speed, and your timing. Okay, so that's a really great way to put it together, a really simple class. Okay, make sure you've got your plan A, plan B, and another good, these aren't the cards, but I talk about my 5x3x5 index cards with the 15-minute blocks on. As an instructor, you should build up a collection. I've got a collection this big. Build up a collection of 15-minute blocks. And then you can shuffle them like cards, pull one out, and you have 15 minutes right there. You can separate them of the fitness, the technique, okay, and maybe the kumite stuff, and you can mix them up. So if you really want a couple of 15-minute blocks on fitness, bang, you take 1, 2. And, and it never hurts to make sure that one of those is a deck of cards, which is about 15 minutes. Set the clock. If you got 1.5 hours, there's 6 15-minute lots. If you got 2 hours, well, then the first 15 minutes is preparation, warm-up. Second 15 minutes could be a stretch. And then you've still got 6 15-minute lots you can work on. There's no limit to what you can do with those cards. They're really, really cool. Hey, Us Ketsi, good to see you, man. It's been raining in Xi'an for 3 days. My internet is out and just on now. Good on you. The Holyfield Shuffle. Ket's trained with me for a long time. No, not Kev's shuttlecock game. Well, that's one of the other lads. Kev, he used to play a shuttlecock kicking game where you'd stand in a circle with a shuttlecock, and then you'd have to kick the shuttlecock. And if you miss the shuttlecock, you'd have to get down and do push-ups. And that was a good way to get your reaction timing going as well. But Kev, Steve there, Steve Ketz, good buddy of mine, who's in China at the moment. Yes, the Holyfield Shuffle sends shivers down the spines of anyone who's ever trained at the dojo. Yep, and teaching kids is very different to adults, but here's the thing that you said or you found out. What I find is if you can teach kids, you can teach adults really well. And here's the one really good thing. I always used to make sure that the kids were attentive by asking questions. And with the adults too, I'll just say to the group in general, okay, what do I do here? Or what do I do there? What comes next? And then we were visited by a fellow named Matt. I was just talking to him today, actually. Damn, what's Matt's last name? Oh, he's going to kill me if he sees this. I forgot his name. I was just chatting to him today. But anyway, Matt, it'll come to him before I end the conversation. He's one of John Danaher Death Squad grapplers. Really amazing grappler. He was on tour in Australia, came and did a couple of seminars at the dojo, and the guys got a lot out of it. And his teaching method is based on Ryan. What's the Ryan lad's name? The one that's killing them all in the BJJ. Yeah, Matty Tesla. There you go. I can't believe Matty. I'm so sorry. I've got so much going on in my head, and his name slipped me. But Matty Tesla, he came and did seminars for us. And Gordon Ryan. Well, he was Gordon Ryan's training partner for years, and he and Gordon are very close mates. And in his opinion, he thinks whilst Gordon is the top fighter at the moment, he thinks Gordon's going to be probably one of the best instructors the world's ever known. And I know everyone that did seminars around Australia with Matty Tesla have the same opinion with him. I think that he is absolutely probably one of the best instructors that I've ever seen. And one of the things I did was I took my previous teaching style, and Al's here, so he knows that what I'm saying is true, that I used to I'd say to people, what have I got to do here? What happens next? Where do I go from this? What do I do? What's your opinion? But I never directed it to individuals. I would say to the general group, and someone would go, oh, okay. But now what Matty Tesla does is he'll be showing a technique, and he'll go, okay, what's the objective here? And he'll look at you and go, Cameron. And you go, and he won't move off. He won't go, well, you haven't got the answer, Al. He'll look at you and he'll look at you until you give the answer. And he'll keep drilling you till you get the right answer. So what do you think's going to happen to everyone else in the class? They know there's no escape. So everyone listens so intently. And what happens is it's a really, really good way to teach kids especially. So now what happens in the kids class is I could say to any one of those kids that train with me regularly, can you show everybody this technique? And they'll go bang, 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 because they have the steps in place. So one of the best ways to do that is you do a Matty Tesla. What you do is you don't just do what I used to do and vaguely ask the whole group, what's after this? Yes, what's after that? What he would do is he'd look at you and go, Al, what have I got to do here? Well, it's a 2-arm grip on the arm. I'm going to come over the top and hold the elbow. Okay, what do I do now? Well, I'm going to pull the arm back. What do I do? Well, and pull. Oh, no, I've got to put my foot on the hip and create the push-pull. So now, okay, so what he would do is he would force you to be very clear with the detail, and the finer the detail, the clearer the process. It's that simple. That's another really important principle you need to take with you to the teaching. Leo, did that when you teach kids and they evolve, you teach everyone. You can teach everyone. You learn tons from it. That's true. And Claudio, dealing with different personalities. Look, it's a bell curve, really. It's a bell curve. 10% of them you can never deal with. This is how I put it, and this is how I simplify it for me. 10% of them, it doesn't matter how hard you try to look after them, you spend 80% of your energy just trying to deal with them. Address the mob in the middle, because they're the most important ones. They're the ones who will go places and will benefit from it. If you've got time, you can address those ones, because sometimes those ones somehow get up into the inner curve. You're trying to move everybody over to the left. And then the other 10% on the other end of the bell curve, it doesn't matter what you do, they'll get it. I mean, you can completely screw it up and they'll still get it. Okay, so that's really valuable. You have to address the personalities, but some personalities I think are just disruptive, and you're just better off without them. Hate to say it, but it's true. Okay, so another principle is, one thing I like to do, which I've already addressed here, work on one principle, one technique, one concept, one kata, one bunkai in a session. You can do I've literally done 2-3 hour sessions on one technique. In fact, I do it regularly. In January, I was in Croatia. Shout out to everyone in Croatia. I had a wonderful time. It's the most beautiful place. Spent some great time with Martin and Martine van Ammen from Holland, who came over, and my good buddy from one of my heroes from Italy, Andrea Stoppa, and the whole group. But anyway, what I did was I did 3 or 4 sessions, and every session I did one technique. Now that technique expanded. Okay, so in one of the sessions, we simply worked on bridging the gap from range 1 into 2 into 3, 4, and down into 5. Okay, so that's one principle. We're going to go from stand up, kick range, all the way down to the ground where you're controlling them on the ground. Well, that alone can take a whole session. Okay, but you can streamline it, come in, get the inside position, control, push, pull with the head leg, get them down, close the gap, steal the space, fill the void, all this stuff. Okay, there's a whole session in one technique. So every day in training, I'll do the same thing. I'll say to the students, all right, today we're going to do this. And we're just going to do one technique. Now, of course, out of that technique come little extensions and spider webs and what ifs. And I always encourage what ifs. Don't ever get into the mindset where you're saying to students, shh, shh, if I want you to speak, I'll ask you to speak. That's the silliest thing. What I do in class is there's always a time and place where students are able to ask questions. So I will say, any questions? They go, oh, okay. Sometimes I'm talking to one of the little kids, it might be 6 or 7. I'll go up, zip the lip, keep that for later. Okay, I don't want to feel angry, make them feel they've been told off. I want them to feel encouraged that they have to ask that question. If you turn around to the kid and say, don't ask, you keep your, no, shut up, boom. Okay, well then they're intimidated about asking questions ever again. But if you say to them, whoop, hold that, I want to know what your question is, just wait for a second, I'll ask you in a little bit. Well, then they're encouraged. They can't wait to get the question off their lips. Okay, so allow them to ask questions, encourage them to ask questions, because that's where the growth works. And I can tell you now, that's another really important thing as an instructor. If you get a question you can't answer, be happy to say you can't answer it. Okay, make sure you never fall into the trap of trying to convince everybody that you know everything. Okay, and even Solsai, I'm just trying to think back on times at Solsai, and people would ask questions, and he would think for a second. He'd go, no, that wouldn't work. Or he'd go, no, I've tried it, it doesn't work. Okay, so even though it may not be that he gives the answer they're looking for, how do I do this? And how do I find? He'll go, no, there's no point in doing that, because it just wouldn't work under pressure against a non-compliant opponent. Okay, so allow for questions, and that's a really good way to know if your students get it. And it never hurts to keep going back and checking that your students get it. Do they get it or do they not get it? Okay, if they get it, they'll be able to answer those questions. Okay, what comes here? What's this move? Okay, what are we doing here? Why are we turning around? Why do we turn our back to our partner when we do this? I thought we were not meant to turn our back. Okay, so how do you turn? What are you going to use with that turn? You point at someone, you go, Nate, what do you do here? What's it? What can you turn this into? If you're doing a kata, what's the principle of kata? Shay, what's the principle of kata? Oh, a block is a lock, is a blow is a throw. Good. So what are we doing here? We've stepped through with a punch. How are we going to turn that? What can we turn that into? And Ren, how can we turn that? And he go, oh, well, it's a turn. So any turn means I can break their balance and throw them. Good. So how do I do that? Shin, show me how I do that. You go, well, what I'm doing is that block now becomes you see what I mean? You ask them questions with each step of the process. And if you keep asking questions, what happens is they know they're going to be asked, and their mind won't drift. If they know they're about to be asked, they will concentrate and they will get it. Okay, and you ask them to explain that, and what happens is you can go back to that same technique over and over a week later, and they'll still have the answers. They'll know. Okay, even asking the kids what next technique in Kihon is great. They love the anticipation. There you go. Okay, kids love, if you like, they love showing off. They love making sure you know that they know. Okay, so you have to encourage that. That's so good. I try to reach all of them one way or another. You mean reach each one individually? I think that's really valuable too. If I can't teach one kid one way, I'll find another way. I see what you mean. That's, yeah, good. A weaker student with proper guidance will get strong. Yeah, good. So that's valid too. So now I'm getting what you meant before about their personality. So, some kids, it's a Shingi Kai thing as well. Some kids, I had one kid who used to come to training, and he did all right, but I think he was just so cotton-wooled at home. And I remember one day at training, he's off to the side of the class, and he's crying like, oh my God, someone's broken his neck. Anyway, I'm going, you all right? And he goes, I was that close from dying, and he nearly killed me. And I go, oh, come on, okay, look, get up. Let's get back into training. You don't understand. Okay, jump up. Come on, let's go. But, okay, look, I'll give you $10 if you get up now. Okay, boom. And he got up, and I crossed my heart, walked straight back into class, back into it. And at the end of the class, he walked up, he says, can I have that $10, please? Okay, so the point is, you've got to address personalities. Okay, and I had another kid walked in, and if someone brushed past him, literally brushed past him, he'd been so protected and protected literally he'd cause him to burst into tears. Within 6 months, I had other mums coming up who knew that kid going, I don't know what you did, but it's unbelievable. And it'd be time for kumite. He'd go, yes, and he'd shape up and he'd just, and he'd grit his teeth and he'd go after these guys, and you've got to address their individual personalities. Other kids won't need that. I mean, I've had kids like Gary O'Neill. When he started, he was 13 when he started with me. And Gary O'Neill, he didn't need any encouragement at all. He'd just get bowled over by someone much bigger and stronger. He'd just bounce straight back up again, and it'd make him twice as interested in working out how he can find an alternative to it. So some people are like that. He was a bit of a redhead. My mum used to say he didn't know a blue heeler that wouldn't bite and a redhead kid who wouldn't fight. So he had that red hair in him. Clarence, Kenny Shian always had the same advice when I asked him to attend seminars with others. Go with an empty cup, and when you come back, you must tell me about it and show me, well, there you go. And that forces you to pay attention, all right? It really forces you to pay attention, unless the seminar is so boring, no matter how hard you pay attention, you're not learning anything anyway, okay? And there's two other really important things, and I think I'll finish off. We've hit the time nearly, but there's two other really valuable things that I think as an instructor you should always encourage, and that is encourage the students to be the best training partner they can be. And if you say to anyone in my dojo at any time, anywhere, what's your number one priority? They'll say to be the best training partner they can be. Okay? And what's the number one goal? Is the number one priority and the goal, the priority and goal are different. The number one priority is be the best training partner you can be. And that way your training partner gets better. They're encouraged to help you. The white belt over there sees he gets a bit of a kick when everyone's changing, everyone's helping each other. Okay, so always be the best training partner you can be, and that helps everyone. The other thing is the number one goal is to go home without an injury. Okay, so it doesn't matter what it is, even if you're really working heavy kumite, and my arms are moving, I just realized, but I can't help it, I'm just playing with these cards. Go home without an injury. Injury is the greatest enemy of anyone training, and if you go home without an injury every day, you'll be able to come back the next day. The number one goal of all training is to train today so that tomorrow's training can be the best it can be. Okay, and that means train without injury. So it means pulling back a little bit. These days with COVID-19, it means if you're even slightly unwell, don't even go to training. Okay, that's a combination of injury and injury prevention and being a good training partner. Sometimes the best training partner is the one that doesn't turn up. Okay, so you want to make sure everyone goes home without injury. Don't allow people to push themselves so far past a point of injury that they're off training for 2 or 3 months, even if it's a psychological thing where you just push them too far outside their comfort zone. Okay, so I think that's about it. We might cover up there. So remember, SNS, something simple, something new, something strong. Always go in with a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is what you plan to do. Plan B is what you do to finish the class strongly if the plan A doesn't work. And that usually the S part of the SNS, the last S, is a great plan B. If all else fails, just smash them with a Holyfield shuffle or a deck of cards or something like that. So at least they go home with a feeling that they've achieved something. Okay. Remember the block of 15-minute cards. Use that. Yep, Rochelle, you'll be able to use this now. Rochelle is moving into the phase where she's going to be starting to teach soon. Remember, one principle, one session. That's a good golden rule. And if you get to that principle, you don't even need a second principle, cross my heart, because the first principle will expand enough that it can go on and on and on. Okay. Make sure you know that your students are in tune with what's going on by asking them questions. Ask them to explain it. You pull them together again. Okay, let's review this. What do we do here? What do we do there? Liam, what's the first step here? Tiger, what's the first step here? Al, what do we do now? Make sure that they know it and they know it very clearly. Okay, be a good training partner. Be the best training partner you can be and go home without injury. And we might wind it up there. Right, I'll get onto that question about Marvin and the way he circles to the blind side. It's a great thing too. Daniel, thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll get out nice and early today. You all get to go home early card. Thanks, Gazza. Look forward to training with you soon, Gaz and Harry from down the mountain. Rob, I'm not going to be training with you for a while unless you come up from Tassie. But if I go to Tassie, I'll make sure I look you up. Thanks, guys. Bogdan, thank you all the way over. Fred, all the way over there too from Sweden. Paul Kniep, good. Dankeschön, mein Freund. Aus Deutschland. Good. Kishola Majumda, where are you? That sounds like a good Indian name. Kisholaya Majumda. Good on you. Whereabouts in India are you from? Kisholaya. Thanks, Claudio. Good. I hope you got something out of that. That was for you today, too, Claudio. Good on you. And everyone, look forward to seeing you Friday. I'm doing another reading Friday. I'm really excited. From Kolkata, my favorite city in all of India. I love Kolkata and I love going across the river to Dakshineswar, to the Kali temple. I love that Kali temple. I tell you what, that's one of the most powerful power sites in the world. Kolkata's my favorite place. If I ever lived in India, to be there. Good on you. Okay, Friday I'll be doing some reading. I'm really excited. I'm tearing through the book, and the entire book is nearly ready for final proofread. Well, it's the part of it already been proofread by people. And the logbook title, the logbook cover is complete. So we'll be going into printing with the logbook in the next week or so, and I'll keep you in touch. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you Friday for a book read. Thanks.